How do you react when your voice doesn't come out the way you want? Maybe you're kind of going, no, 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 and you accidentally flip, or maybe you accidentally grip onto the note a bit more and strain. Do you go, that didn't really work. Maybe let's just try it again. Or do you beat yourself down? Do you tell yourself maybe there's something wrong with your voice? Now, whilst a bit of frustration is normal, if you find yourself typically in that latter boat, and sometimes I find that to be the case for myself, then I think learning to build a calm and a more kind of carefree approach to your own practice is an incredible skill. Because on this journey of learning to sing, you're going to make mistakes. The voice isn't always going to be in your control, especially as you're first kind of developing, first learning and understanding technique. But if each time you make a mistake and you overlay all this kind of emotional charge, two things tend to happen. First of all, mentally, we start to stiffen. We start to get so focused on making it right, making the technique or making the exercise come out right. And as a result, you don't really get that breathing space to just explore and feel things out. The second thing is physically, this often manifests as tension in our body. We start to engage unnecessarily kind of muscles, and also the muscles that do need to be used aren't as loose and as free as they need to be. And as you can imagine, we feel like we aren't doing so well. We create this emotional charge, and that makes our singing even harder, and it becomes this never-ending cycle. Now, I'm being a bit dramatic here, but you get the point, and you can see why this is a really important skill if you want to make progress. And so today I want to share with you, some perspectives, some tools that have really helped me personally and some of my students in, developing this kind of more calm and kind of carefree approach to your practice so they can actually see results. Keep in mind, nobody is perfect. I find that I often slip into this myself. And so really this video is a reminder for me too. Now, real quick, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ivan. I'm a voice teacher who works with students from all around the world over Zoom. And really on this channel, my goal is to make learning how to sing as simple and as easy as possible. So if that is up your lane, consider subscribing wherever you're joining me from. If you're interested in improving your voice with less of the headache, I've got some links down in the description, ways for you to work with me one-on-one, but also some self-study programs you can work through in a step-by-step manner. If you want to inspire our next episode, just let me know down in the comments what you want me to talk about next. If you have any questions about singing, I'd be happy to answer them too. Anyway, let's dive in. Let's start off with an easy win. So I love coffee and I pretty much have a coffee most days, but sometimes I can get a bit over caffeinated. And what that means is I might get a bit kind of jittery or a bit restless, And what I notice is when I practice in that kind of state of mind, usually it's a lot harder to find better reps and better control in my voice. Now, for me, it's coffee, but I want you to think about what is the equivalent for you, because the state of your mind when you go into that practice session really matters. Maybe you've had a stressful day at work. Sometimes that kind of underlying stress or emotion can seep into your practice session. Now, here are some suggestions that have helped me. If you're like me and you get over caffeinated quite easily, then maybe you kind of skip that coffee or get like a weaker kind of version of it. Or maybe number two, just simply move your practice session to a time that is when you're generally a bit more relaxed, maybe at night. Another thing you can do is actually do an activity that helps you calm down and unwind before you actually go and practice. For example, I personally go for a long walk sometimes, or I'll go to the sauna at my gym. And I find that it generally just kind of relaxes me a lot better, and it puts me into a better kind of state when I go and practice. Now, the second tool or second tip here that you can use is reframing. It basically means learning to see a situation in a completely different light. And as you can imagine, your frame or your perspective on a situation can make a huge impact on how you feel about the situation. Now, the first reframe here is something that I learned from a friend a few years back. And it's this idea of learning to zoom out on your timeline, because I find for a lot of singers, people who especially like quite ambitious or they want to kind of get it done, a lot of times we want to understand and get everything and we want to get the results right here, right now. And that sense of, impatience or really wanting to get the results, that's often what contributes to a lot of the frustration and that emotional charge when we're practicing. But what happens if you zoom out? Say you kept trying to improve. Where would your voice be in the next month, the next year, the next couple of years? Is there really a rush to get it right now when it's really going to happen in a matter of time? I find that this really allows me to kind of reset my expectations and allows me to calm down and just chill out as I go and practice. Now, this next reframe is for those of us who kind of punish ourselves emotionally when we make a mistake. Maybe we kind of make a little mistake vocally and we think, man, we're the worst, we suck, our voice is bad, something is wrong with us, that kind of thing. The reframe I like to use in this situation is, how would you treat a baby learning to walk for the first time? Or maybe how would you treat someone learning to re-walk for the first time? And maybe they stumble, maybe they accidentally fall. How would you treat them? Would you beat them down every time they make this little mistake? Or would you try to support them? I find that when I kind of use this reframe, it allows me to treat my own voice with a bit more compassion. So in the future, whenever you notice yourself, getting quite emotionally charged around your practice, try using one of these two reframes, either learning to zoom out on your own kind of timeline, or just reframing it as, how would you treat someone learning to walk for the first time, or maybe they're relearning to walk. Now, the final tip here is learning to build calmness as a habit. Because what we don't realize is sometimes the words we say to ourselves, sometimes the thoughts we have to ourselves, they're nothing more than a habit. Kind of like, people who say, I'm sorry all the time. A huge part of this is a habit, and it kind of affects how you perceive a situation, how you feel about a situation as well. And so I want you to use this to your advantage, right? The next time when you make a mistake in your practice, maybe you're kind of going, no, 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 and you kind of make this kind of mistake. I want you to just say, whoops, or maybe let's try it again. Something quite neutral, something kind of quite chill. And initially, it's going to feel awkward, right? It's going to feel like you're kind of faking it to yourself. But over time, just watch how that kind of habit starts to grow and build, and then how it starts to affect the way you change your practice as well. And over time, you'll start to learn to minimize the emotional baggage around your mistakes. So you can actually focus on what is objective, what are things that you can actually do better, and things that you need to change. Anyway, I hope this tip can help you find a bit more calmness or a bit more, kind of chillness when you go and practice, because singing, without a doubt is quite an emotional experience. And a lot of times we tie it to our own personal identity. If you found this episode useful, please leave a 5-star on the podcast. That would really, really mean the world to me and will help this podcast reach more people. If you're on, any other social media platform, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, I like, comment, share, really, really helps as well. I really appreciate that. If you're interested in improving your voice, once again, with less of the headaches, I've got some links down in the description on how you can get in touch with me and how you can work with me. Apart from that, my name is Ivan. I'm your voice teacher. I'll see you next week. Take care.